Hello, my name is Mark Long. I'm with Carlson Software, and today I would like to show you uh, the pipe connection wizard and how to use that in your designs. We will do a very small little um, pipe system, and then I will show you how to use the connection wizard. To get started with, though, we've got a little site here that I would like to go ahead and maybe create, uh, run watershed analysis so that I can determine where my low points are. I've got a pretty good idea. I'm going to use this merge 10 and I'm going to select sink locations. Okay, that's the only thing I really want to see, and I'm going to have it draw my watersheds for me. And now you can see, exit this, you can see that I have these symbols here. Let me regen here and make it look a little prettier. Uh, I have these little symbols here that represent low points. Uh, I made the design inside of my road net for this side of the intersection to just flow around to this low point. More than likely, I would probably put a low point right here, but for what we're doing, it's not really important. It just we're showing the connection wizard. Uh, so to get started with, now I'm going to go to my network, and I'm going to go to sewer network settings. I am going to set to a storm file. I am going to set my storm drainage, my SCW file. What we'll do is we'll just do new here and hit open and let it overwrite the old one. I've got things set here to prompt because I like being prompted before the program makes any changes. And then I will go to my design tab. And of course, I'm going to design upstream to downstream. I tell everybody you can flip flop in between these anytime you want to inside of the program. But you need to keep in mind which way you're going. But for this example, I'm going upstream to downstream. And I'm going to check this box, this use connection wizard when adding pipes. Okay. So I'm going to check that box. I'm still, for auto connect structures, I want to be prompted, which is the way I prefer. You can have it do it auto, or you can be prompted, and I'll show you when it prompts me. We're doing our HDL computation by the Federal Highway and some other settings we have in here. If we go to the drainage tab, we're using the rational method for peak discharge. I have my rainfall event set to the 10-year storm for pipe sizing in Wake County, North Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and always capture all inlet flow bypass disabled. To me, this is like a little safety feature that kind of, it assumes that 100% of the water is coming in the inlet. And when we know in the real world it doesn't, we got bypass waters going from one box to another. But in this case, I'm going to leave this checked. I do have some minimum and maximum set here, especially for like my velocities and things like that. What's important to me. And then, of course, my display, I always do center to center and percent. So we have our general settings and things like that. We look through all those tabs. Usually, it's a pretty good idea. Now, first thing we want to do now is to create our very first structure. So in order to do that, we're going to come to network and come down, create a sewer structure. We get down here to command prompt. It asks us, do we want to pick number or center line? Well, if you hit enter for the default pick, now you can see that we're getting information on our surface model. Northing, eastings, elevations, things like that are starting to show up because we are within our 10. If we move out here off to the edge, we still get northing and easting, but our elevation goes away. See? So now we're going to come back in, and I'm just going to snap to the insertion point, INS, of this little symbol that it represents the low point that watershed analysis created for us. Pick it. It starts my initial structure as curb inlet 1, so CI1. We need to set everything we can about this first box because all the other boxes that follow will use these exact same parameters. So I always go through on my very first box and do what I need to do. So we know it's not a channel inlet, so let's go ahead and say it's a combo sag. in the cul-de-sac. I want it to be a 5 by 5 catch basin, which is what I use. And I will go ahead and change the unit symbol because all of my symbols are drawn 1 to 1, so they're a real world size. And that's what I typically prefer to do. Now, one thing that I might do here is because you can see that the invert out is 834.21. I'd probably come in here and round that because I can't stand that. And so, round it to make life easier for everybody in the future. Uh, we may need to rotate my box because you see it's kind of rotated a little odd looking in there. And I think we want to go with uh, pipe left, perpendicular to the pipe left for this guy. But we don't have a pipe yet, but we soon will. So we've kind of set up all the parameters that we can for our first box. So the next thing we want to do is use the plus button here, which is add. Select that. I think I picked it. Add. There we go. Pick point. And we're going to snap INS to the insertion point of our other low point sink location. Pick. And now here's where I'm being prompted. Remember the setting that I discussed earlier? I'm being prompted. Do I want this CI1 to connect? And if I do, here's the overall pipe length. I'm going to say yes because yes, I do want it to connect. And so now it assumes all of the previous settings, well, except for the rims and stuff down here, are already recalculated for you. But with now we do have a pipe, and I can't use 12-inch, and I like to use RCP3. So if I go to my pipe tab here, you see I can set my very first pipe to be RCP3, and my minimum pipe size that I can use here in North Carolina is 15-inch. So now I set that, and you can see that the program automatically redoes everything, redraws everything, and uh, labels it accordingly. So now what we want to do is basically it almost becomes a rinse and repeat from this point on. I'm not going to fine tune these inverts and things like that. I can do that later if I want to. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add, and I'm going to pick a point, and I'm just going to add an outlet pipe that's going to run, I don't know, let's just say it's going to run right there. And do I want to auto connect? Yeah, that's fine. Yes. So now I've got an outlet pipe. We're going to say maybe there's a detention pond here. And so what we need to do is go back to our structure. Let's change him to, there's no inlet, but he does, I'm going to assume he may be around an 18-inch, maybe a 24-inch RC or a flared in section. And you can see my flared in section symbol shows up. And in a nutshell, we've done just a little very simple network. But what we need to do now is we need to bring in this other low point, these two low points here, and connect it into CI2. So how are we going to do that? Well, first thing we're going to do, since we're here, let's go ahead and change his name to FES so that, let me give me some cap locks on here, FES3. And so let's do that because it's just his name. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here and we're going to add. I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to do my insertion point again, and I'm going to select my upstream low point here. It asked me, do I want to connect? And this is why it was important for us to be prompted, because I want to say no. I don't want it to connect. I don't want it to be a flared in section either. I want it to be the combo sag. So we'll have to go back and change our name here to CI4. And you can see now that the appropriate things are selected. We could orient this box by centerline file. So if I pick a centerline file, I could say row 2, and this would be parallel to center line up, I believe. and he gets rotated and inserted accordingly. Now, let's go ahead and add in our next low point. So we pick add again, pick point, insert, pick our point. It asks us if it's going to connect. Here's a good little check. It says 24 feet exactly. Well, my road is probably 24 feet back to back. So there we go. We know it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we can say yes, and CI5 gets made. You can see they're all RCP3s, 0.5%, and all this other good stuff. Let's do a little bit of modification here. Okay, what I want to do is I can show you how this pipe connection wizard works. I'm going to lower these boxes. Right now they're kind of at the minimum. But if I went ahead and lowered these boxes, okay, if I went upstream and I said I wanted to make this guy, let's make him 6 feet deep. Okay, so he gets adjusted to 6 feet deep. This guy right here, he's going to have to be worked on. So we need to come to our pipe. Let's mess with our pipe here, and let's make him minus 0.75%. Okay, and so everything's starting to get changed, and we can start to see if we wanted to look at this pipe, we certainly could. Let's go look and see what we got going on here. How about 0.75? Enter. And now if we look at him, he was going the wrong way. He needs to flow like that. Now what we're looking at here is we've just basically redesigned and lowered these pipes a little bit to where this one's 6 feet deep, this one's 6.18. Now this is a low point. It's much lower than right here at CI2 where we're going to connect to. We're looking at 832.24. Down here we're looking at 8. So there's about 2 foot difference here. So what we want to do is we're going to go to our pipe tab, and now we're going to use the connection wizard. First thing we want to do is specify the box that we want to edit. We select box number 2, and now we can add in the pipe that connects 5 to 2. Okay, so 5, let's add to 2. Here's where the pipe connection wizard comes into play. We have multiple options here that you can use, and the little display up top will show you what happens. But for this example, I want to lower all downstream mainline pipes by current slope at a step up or a drop. Okay. If I select OK, if I pick this and select OK, it will perform this and it will show us what it does. It shows us up here in the little preview screen. I'm going to cancel this for a second because what I want to do is I'm not going to connect it just yet. I want to show you what this profile looks like right here. Okay, so if we go and we click on our 1, I want you to see there is no drop in box number 2. Okay, because this is the profile for 1 to 3. 1 to 3. Okay. Now I want to go and add 5. We select our first option here, which is what we want to do. We click OK. The pipe gets connected with just a normal slope associated with it. Now let's look at our pipe profile. Now you can see that this pipe was held, this pipe was lowered to accommodate this set of pipes coming into it. This is how you use the pipe connection wizard to do your designs and things like that. You know, we didn't really go through a lot of the drainage and how we can do calculations for stormwater, but the point of this movie was to show you the pipe connection wizard. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy.